Welcome to another edition of the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. I hope everything is working. Let's see. Meters are going up, down, left, right, maybe up there. Hey, what do you know? It's getting to the point where I'm actually learning how to do this by rote. But, yeah.
68 shows. How many we got?
Yeah, only 68 shows, and I think we've eventually got it right.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've actually done the Sports Desk now more than I've done the Gonzo Radio Network show. The Gonzo Radio show. But we'll see if I revive that thing as I crawl into different fields and different forms of interest. But hi, how you doing? I'm Big Daddy Gonzo. Good to see you. Good morning. Buenos Sunday. Everybody's still recovering from the time change last week. Everybody's still crying about it. Seated across from me, he is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and all of the above. That is Damaz. You're almost centered in the picture and everything.
That's amazing.
You even have a...
You know, noticing too is that I need
what?
to shave my head. My hairline, you know, it looks like the coast of Scotland. You know, like if it really grew in, you'd be able to see it. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of zigs and zags and
if
stuff
my
like
hair
that.
wasn't gray and white, you would actually see that I could brush it if necessary.
Yeah, yours is up there a little bit too. You need a good shaving.
Yeah, I know. I should be on, like, you know, on the off ramp or the on ramp at I-95 with a cardboard sign in my hand. You know, we'll podcast for food. So other than bringing the room down, it's been a heavy morning.
Slightly.
We woke up to the news of the injury of LeBron James. That's it. Basketball season's over.
That's it.
It's over. Just hang it up.
Who's going to be the next LeBron James? We don't know. They don't know.
It's over.
Yeah, it's over. 15 years in the league, 16 years now.
He's been so durable, though.
Beyond
durable. I mean, this is ridiculous.
The number of games he's played, including postseason games, it equates to another, I think, 3 full seasons of basketball. Full seasons every day, 82-game season, and he just doesn't miss. And it's funny because obviously, you know, I do a lot of fantasy sports and stuff, and I'm checking lineups every day. Every day, LeBron James so far this year has had that questionable tag next to his name.
Doesn't matter.
Nursing an elbow injury, a knee, an ankle, whatever. You need to steamroll this guy to get him off the court, which is apparently what happened yesterday.
What happened? He got steamrolled. He got rolled up on.
Yeah. So, again, unfortunate injury for him. I don't know. Am I a fate guy? Do I look at this and go, what does it really matter where the Lakers would have ended up seeding-wise this year? You clearly know who the best team is and who the best player is.
Disingenuous concern.
Yeah, I mean, all right, give him a couple of weeks off. Guess what he gets to do also is rest the rest of his body.
Right.
So, not that he needed it, obviously, because he's still playing every day, but the Lakers minus Anthony Davis are still the best team in the league. So get him healthy. We knew this was going to happen to Anthony Davis. We knew at some point he was going to break down.
We also said that Anthony Davis is probably one of the best complementary players.
Oh yeah, for sure,
in the NBA.
And listen, talent level and defensive, the way he plays.
But we've seen what it's all about when he has to carry a team. We saw that in New Orleans.
Yeah, he did. He never got out of the first round. So listen, it's still LeBron's team. It'll always be LeBron's team. Until
they had a 51-game winning season.
They were a playoff team. They were 7 sometimes. Again, the West, when he was there in the West, was brutal. I mean, San Antonio was still very viable. So obviously the West was very powerful at that point. But still, listen, it's LeBron James, and then there's everybody else. So give him a couple weeks off. I mean, worst case, where do they fall out of the 2? I think Utah's 1 right now, and they end up a 6 seed. God forbid the Lakers are a 6 seed. Who the hell cares?
Hey, how you doing, Russ?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Listen,
Good to see ya.
they'll be the best 6 seed to ever get into the
God,
playoffs.
the neighborhood's just going to crap. I'm telling
so-
you right now. Jeez, yeah, whatever. Use your
Nice.
mask.
Will Fuller. Yeah, so listen, they're going to be fine. Although the NBA may not be fine, the Lakers will be fine. So
Yeah, I bust his balls, but I kept the camera on you the whole time while he's walking around. So it's like,
he got no airtime on that, huh?
no
Thanks.
airtime, nothing. You get nothing.
Ross, thanks for the additional airtime. Yeah, so not overly concerned about the Lakers. Interesting to see, again, how quickly and how many stories are going to come out now about trying to replace LeBron. Who's going to be the next LeBron? What's the NBA going to do next? This is that little kind of, like, oh, man, hey, we should really start thinking about this. I know this guy's been around
The watch
forever.
is going to be when they lose every game that he is out. Okay, while he is out, every game is going to be like, oh my God, when's LeBron coming back? Oh my God, when's LeBron? It's going to be a constant LeBron watch. And then you're going to see LA win a game without LeBron or AD. And they're going to, greatest team ever. Wait till the big guys get back. And it's like, give me a break.
We already know who
okay?
we already know who they are full strength. Some of the moves they made in the offseason clearly helped because they were winning this year clearly without AD. So they've got some depth now, obviously minus LeBron James. It's a bigger issue. You can't replace that depth. So, but again, it's regular season. There's 35 or so games left to get to the finish line. And again, that finish line is an arbitrary finish line. So what? You finish 5th, you finish 4th, you finish 1st, you finish 8th. You're all playing against each other. It's about matchups at that point, and who is going to want to match up against a healthy Laker team based upon your seeding?
Yeah, and
I mean,
and I can tell you, I can tell you for a fact, as a bitter Miami Heat fan, if there was a healthy Goran Dragic and a healthy Bam Adebayo, things might be a little different. The story might have been a little different in the finals.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
At least gone to a 7th game, and it might have been a little different. You might have seen heroics, because, I mean, we've all seen heroics take LeBron-led teams down in the finals.
Nobody expected the Heat to get to where they got to.
Exactly.
And they proved listen, I'm sure they had the faith in themselves, and Coach Spo had the faith in that team. Obviously, you do. Otherwise, you don't show up to work every day.
Jimmy Buckets. I ain't scared of the Lakers. I ain't scared of nobody.
But I'll tell you what the last year's run did for that team this year and moving forward. They've been struggling first half of the year, right? Injuries, other stuff like that. But
They
we
pulled
talked
it
about
together, though.
I told you they would. We talked about it. I said, watch the Heat. They're going to go on a little bit of a run. They got the guards back. They're getting healthy. Dragic is playing again. Bam is back. Kelly's playing well. The bench is contributing, whatever. And guess what? Heat are now, I think, 4 games over 500. And they're in the, again, viable race of the East.
Well, they've had a 2-2 week right now, and people are starting to go, oh no, they're starting to slide again. And I mean,
NBA again is a marathon,
Right.
So there's plenty of time. They're playing well. You know who the Heat are as long as they're healthy. I think last year's run helps them this year, actually more so than it did even last year. They were way above expectations last year.
Well, they had 2 important free agents that they picked up during the was it Harrell and Bradley. And I only say this like I'm trying to remember their names because they haven't friggin' played. They haven't played a lick.
Well, Ariza
Okay,
is
a
now
lick.
Trevor Ariza is now in Miami Heat.
Yes,
A little
and
long
I
in
am
the tooth,
thrilled.
but a guy with leadership, a guy with experience, a guy that's been on a lot of teams, played with a lot of players.
And they got rid of that racist schmuck to trade. They traded the racist schmuck Miles Leonard for him.
Yeah, obviously they wanted to get rid of that guy, change the culture a little bit.
Racist
Here.
schmuck.
So, but anyway, listen, Heat are going to be fine. They'll get to the playoffs. They'll be a team that whoever's playing them is going to look at them and go, "Wow, this team's good." They're going to be ready to play. They always are. Spall's got them ready.
They're going to be upset.
Yeah, and the Heat are going to be viable in the East, just like they were last year.
I don't know how long the run is going to be, but they'll make a run.
Oh, for sure. Well, you like teams like Boston struggling, teams like Toronto, a little bit of a struggle. And the East is up for grabs. I mean, Milwaukee's playing well, obviously with Giannis and
Well,
Middleton.
everybody's in love with Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. You're all in love, la 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 la, and good luck. Simple as that.
Miami matches well against those teams.
Exactly.
Because they play defense.
Ain't scared of none of
Yeah,
you.
they play defense. So
Milwaukee was supposed to take us out in 6 in the finals, in the Eastern Finals last year. What happened there? How'd that work out?
yeah, it didn't work out very well at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So moving on to another subject that is near and dear to your heart, and I'm going to get to it quickly.
Aliens?
No,
Oh, sorry.
no. Other than aliens.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball. We are how many days away from opening day?
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
They usually open on a Sunday night.
And the spring has been very interesting.
It's storylines.
I know you've been doing some preliminary stuff, rotisserie / fantasy baseball wise.
Some mock drafts I've done in baseball. What I like to look at too.
Wait. What's the actual number of mock drafts you've done?
I'll be honest. I've only done like maybe 5 or 6. I did 3, 4 yesterday. I did 2 like the night before. I run through them pretty quickly. And the reason why I do them is not necessarily right now in the beginning stages. Is just for my team. Like I'm trying to come up with the best team now. I'm just trying to figure out where players fit.
Right.
And how that works. So what I did was, which I do every year, is there are the experts that are out there. And these experts are representation of all the leaders in the industry, the fantasy industry. They work for some of the major players, Roto Grinders, CBS Sports, all these other players.
Right,
Big
the same way that the Guru's Guru, he actually has a couple of different sites that have this large quorum of fantasy experts.
Yeah.
And he actually bases his decisions on to go with or against the tide of the generalized agreement or the quorum. So, if you have 100 fantasy experts and you have 70 to 75 of them say, these lineups are going to be good, or these players, you go heavy with these players, and he decides whether he agrees or not. That's one of his determining factors, is one of his metrics, if you will.
Yeah.
So, what site, what source are these experts coming from?
Well, again, what these guys do is they get together and every year and they do a series of expert drafts. And these are the experts, again, are the guys that are in the industry that have been doing this for many years.
Nerds.
Writers, guys that are leading some of these companies now that are in the forefront of fantasy sports.
A lot of math majors.
Yeah, so these guys are all the sabermetrics guys, the math guys, very smart baseball people, very connected.
Also poker players.
Probably so. They're gamblers. So very connected, very smart people. And again, it's early in the stage. I'm going to really digest it into this week because I've got a draft actually coming up on Sunday.
No, well, when I proffer the speculation that they are also poker players, I have literally seen this in watching the World Series of Poker over the last 6 or 7 years that I've been watching it regularly, and they will say what these players do, or have done outside what their bona fides are, and some of them are, engineering graduates from MIT,
Smart guys,
and physics majors from Yale, and accounting executives that gave up their job to go play poker, and increasingly, more and more often, you see these guys. They run different fantasy baseball, football, fantasy sports, DFS. And you'll see in their profiles, they do a video of them, and it's like, oh yeah, here I'm just. And he's once again, it's like one of the DFS pros. Got 4 screens in front of him, running all these metrics, and he's like, and all this is just like with poker. All it is math. I'm like,
when you visualize in
nerds.
your mind the Einstein theory of relativity, the E equals MC, and you put it on the chalkboard, and all you see is just scribble and scribble and scribble and
a
scribble.
beautiful mind stuff.
Yeah, and at the very, very end, you have equals, boom. Okay, that's what these guys are doing with sabermetrics in baseball now. It's a silly
Equals
equation.
42.
Yeah, it's an algorithm of stuff that basically it's like a pot of goulash. It's garlic, it's salt, it's the meat, and they stir it all up, and then at the very end they press a button and boop, there's the answer. This guy's going to go 2 for 4 with a double and a walk, and you're like, what the hell is that? But these
more
guys,
times than not,
these guys are pretty good. So yeah, there's a lot of math, and these guys are very, very smart. And again, they're the leaders in the industry. But in the mock drafts I've done so far, and again, just looking at some of the guys that have been placed across this draft and later rounds as well, The one thing in the early rounds, and I know we talk about this when it relates to football, I don't think you necessarily win or lose your draft in the first round, because we prove every year, football especially, we've seen that when we go back at the end of the year and assess value in that first round for these players, it seems like every year you've like maybe 3 or 4 of those players that actually return first round value.
Right.
Now, baseball, I think more so, it's important in the earlier rounds, I think, because unless guys get hurt, which you don't have control over, but the counting stats in baseball, give or take, I think, a small percentage. I can say, okay, a guy like Mike Trout, who I'm going to talk about, you look at his baseline where he's been over the last 7 or 8 years, okay? He's 30 home runs every year, 100 runs, 100 RBIs, hits about 290.
Consistent
300.
excellence.
Plays every day, though, gives you 20 steals. He does everything. He's one of the best 5'2" players that we've seen. But this is what stuck out about, and I'm bringing Mike Trout out for the example. I've never not seen him 1 or 2 in any draft over the last, since he's been in the league. And it's been viable. He's normally, if not always, returned first-round value.
He's a horse.
He is no better than 5th in all my mocks this year. Now, here's what that does. Tells me 2 things. Tells me, 1, the state of baseball is okay, because when you're considered the best player in the game, and you got 4 guys that people are consistently taking ahead of you.
And the numbers don't lie.
Now, it doesn't mean they're better baseball players, but it means that their contribution, at least in the fantasy world, is greater than the greatest player that at least we've seen maybe perhaps in our last, say, 20 years of baseball.
Right.
Certainly in the discussion.
But the on-field statistics play out.
Oh, for sure. And that's what these guys do. They break down everything. So
Right.
here's what I'm going to say about Trout. If I'm Mike Trout today, and I know these guys look at this stuff, because first of all, they all play fantasy sports.
Right.
The baseball guys, again, the leagues frown upon the gambling per se.
Excuse me. They have a friend who,
Of course,
runs an account for
They
them.
have a home league, let's say. Okay. Now,
Okay, we'll call it
a home league. Yeah. So their home league in the dugout with the rest of their guys that know where their homes are. Whatever the case.
Only a $10,000 entry fee.
Yeah, these are kids. Let them have fun. My point is that Mike Trout is no better than 5th. That lineup this year finally has got some help, okay? They signed Anthony Rendon in the offseason, who to me is a top 10 hitter in baseball and will be for years. Ohtani, hopefully, is healthy. He's had a decent spring. The issue we've talked about last week was the top of the lineup with Fletcher and that kid Jared Walsh and their on-base percentages. If those guys improve slightly, and now with Rendon, the way the lineup sets up behind Trout, let me tell you something. That Angels team this year, I think, not only has a chance to get to the playoffs, but I think you see Trout's numbers potentially go up 10% across the board. That's scary. Okay, yeah, the best player in baseball, and you're going to make him 10% better.
And 10%.
Yeah, and 10% better, perhaps 20% better. I mean, who knows what the limit is for a guy that's got some help, from an offense, because, again, what's baseball? It's runs scored. Counting stats are what? Runs, RBIs, all the things that necessarily you're not really fully in control of. You're in control of hitting the baseball. That's what your limits are. But if there's nobody on base, you're not getting RBIs.
Yeah, well, listen, we've said it time in and time out that baseball is the ultimate team sport. It really is, especially when it comes to batting order. Okay, and what we've seen historically throughout. I mean, I'll go to example A. Okay, New York Yankee fans. They talk about how great DiMaggio was and how great Mickey Mantle was and all of those guys. Who hit behind Mantle? Who hit in front of Mantle?
It's a great
Who hit
discussion.
2 spots in front of Mantle?
Yeah, it's important.
When he wasn't the leadoff hitter,
Listen,
or when he wasn't the 2.
It's no different than
batted
football.
all over the order.
You could be the best running
Okay.
back in football, but if your offensive line is not blocking,
No.
you're going to have a lot of 2-yard losses, no matter how
Yeah.
good you are.
Yeah.
Baseball's no different. If your lineup isn't – I use Barry Bonds as an example. As good, as great as Barry Bonds was in his career, and certainly when he was in that home run chase there 3, 4, 5 years where he was like every 8 at-bats he was hitting a home run, he was lucky if he saw 2 pitches a game. But you know what he did? He hit one of those 2 pitches 450 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. The difference is if you look at some of these guys, with Trout especially, without that protection in the lineup, how many good pitches do you think he's seen? Okay, now that pitch selection changes because you got a guy behind him that you don't want to just put Mike Trout on base because he's going to score. And you're trying to limit that. So you need to pitch to Mike Trout perhaps a little bit more this year than you have in the past.
And every time that Bonds had somebody as some semblance of protection in the batting order, teams even just went, okay, we're just going to walk Bonds.
They walked
You know.
him one time intentionally with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
that tells you everything you need to
All
know
right,
about
enough
that guy.
said. So that's Barry Bonds. Now, again, Mike Trout is in that discussion. He doesn't have the prodigious home run totals that Barry has.
No,
but over his career, obviously Trout staying healthy, he'll shatter tons of. He's in the 600 homer club. 400 steals. His numbers are going to be eye-popping when it's all said and done, because he's been doing it since day one, and he's still not even 30 years old. So this guy could certainly play another forever, in my opinion, especially with today's science and stuff.
Another
in sports.
forever.
Yeah. So he's got a long career ahead of him, and if they get some balance in that lineup, which it looks like they've got now with some protection behind him, and if those couple of guys ahead of him get on base, that team's going to score some runs, and Mike Trout's going to be dead center. So, again, back to my point. 5th overall, best case. Now, the guys ahead of him are the new stars in the game, and these guys are amazing. Ronald Acuna, number 1 overall. They're flip-flopping between him and Tatis. And then Mookie Betts in L.A., that lineup's ridiculous. And then who I really like, that kid Juan Soto from Washington. I'll tell the story, and
And it's up to him to carry that team now.
if you can go back, and I'm sure this is somewhere because these videos are everywhere, but this is a few years ago. I think he was only 19 when he came up.
Yep.
And
he was a baby.
they may have had Acuna on the show to his MLB Network, and I'm trying to think of the first baseman's name for Tampa for years. That was decent lefty. He's on the network now. Anyway, he was pitching bottle caps to these guys, and they had a broomstick. Okay, and they were trying to hit the bottle. Now, Acuna was up there, whiff, whiff, whiff. Whoever else they had, I forget at the time, whiff, whiff. Juan Soto, bottle cap, click, bottle cap, click, bottle cap, click.
Laser-focused hand-eye coordination.
At 19, and even, God, I can't remember the guy who was there, was like, they were just in shock. They're like, Placada. I mean, they were like, this guy is just, so Juan Soto, forget about it. The numbers we brought up last week, I think I showed it on the show. There was maybe I didn't give you the numbers, but they compare him to the greatest lefties at this point in his career. Now, his career is very short. It's only been 2 years. But on base, slugging percentage, walk percentage, only Ted Williams better at this point in his career for left-handed batter. And it's slightly better. Slightly better. Power numbers are actually in favor of Juan Soto, overall power numbers. And again, I don't like to put too much into this whole, well, is Ted Williams? He's not Ted Williams. I'm not saying that. But this kid, Juan Soto, is special, and he warrants the 4th pick overall in any draft that you're in this year for baseball. So, and then you got the pitchers. The first pitcher off the board, Garrett Cole, obviously Yankees. He could win, 20-plus games for sure. DeGrom, MVP, Cy Young, in the National League. That won't change. The Mets are better this year, so his win total should get better. That's been the knock on Cole, is the Mets don't win.
Right.
Not Cole, on Jacob DeGrom. Vegas has him at 93 or 94 wins this year. DeGrom's got to be a big piece of that. He's an 18 to 20 game winner, perhaps.
Got to be.
And then the rest of the line. So
all he has to do is hold up his end.
Man, it's really, really good. So a lot of stuff to digest. I'm going to get more into this, a little bit into this coming week. Next week, obviously, is the last weekend show we have before the season starts. I'll have some picks to click. Can I use that? Picks to click?
Clickety,
Picks to click.
As long as you don't curse, I don't have to dump it out.
Pitchers and catchers and some sleepers and some teams that I think are going to do really well. So,
well, and by the way, in case you're ever feeling guilty about the little piddling curse words that we drop every once in a while here on the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk.
You more than me, of course.
Me more than anybody.
I have a little bit of a filter.
I've managed to get my F words down to frickin'.
It's a good substitution.
But I was listening to, I'm not going to out the specific personality or the specific station, but I was listening to local South Florida sports talk radio, of which I only listened to 2. And I heard quite a bit of potty mouth, including 2 beeps, 2 dumps, 2 dump outs of F-bombs.
Wow.
And I was, I was riding along, doing my errands or whatever and listening to them. And I was like, oh my, I thought you were professionals operating under FCC regulations.
Well, they pay a fine. That's
So-
all. Everybody slips.
No, they dumped it. You only pay a fine if it goes over air.
What's the delay? About
And
eight,
if
8
somebody
seconds?
finds it or somebody complains,
How-
7 seconds.
7-second delay usually.
And they have a digital delay. It's easier to dump now. It really is. It's
sure
easier
it is.
to dump. So
Well, who gives a shit, really? Honestly.
so don't see exactly.
Yeah. So beep.
I know that
plonk.
one of them
Cha-ching.
was an F bomb.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was an F bomb, and one of them was was shit. But I've heard bullshit over the air, not dumped,
Wow.
not complained about.
Technically, that's a noun.
yeah,
It's
I
not really a
understand.
curse word. So
I understand.
I
but-
mean, could it be a
and-
giant animal with horns in your front
And
yard?
I've heard invectives like "God damn it."
Invectives.
Invectives.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Well, now you know.
That's a good word.
Hey, Google it.
Invective. I don't have to,
but
you just told me.
I've heard "son of a bitch." I've heard "bitch." Okay, I've heard these things over AM talk radio.
All right, I got a
Okay,
question.
so-
when you say "son of a bitch," who are you really making fun of? Are you making fun of the parent or the son?
Well, no, this was a description of a tough son of a bitch. This guy's a real tough son of a bitch.
Okay,
So
I'm just worried about the parent in that
you
situation.
could say SOB, everybody would know essentially what you're talking about. Tough son of a bitch.
but if we
right?
actually draw it out,
LeBron James has always been a tough son of a bitch.
if you're the son of a bitch, you're really making fun of the bitch, aren't you? You're really not giving the son that much credit.
It's meant to be derogatory towards your mother,
Is it an invective?
but now it's an invective. You're just gonna ride invective, aren't you?
I like it.
I gotta reposition
my
myself.
word of the day.
I've got to make sure. I've got to make sure I get my Rusty Brooks tribute T-shirt in the shot the whole time. By the way, my wrestling instructor.
By the way,
Rusty Brooks passed away.
Can I
2 weeks
say
ago.
this?
What?
Brutus the Barber Beefcake came into our work last night with
Jake?
Yes,
The bosom buddies.
it did not end well.
Well, really?
It's
Really?
not.
Did you get a lot of? You know who I am?
It's not. It's not radio worthy.
Really?
We'll talk about it after.
Oh no! We have to talk about it. Now.
Really?
We have.
Is
to
it
talk
okay?
about it now. It's fine by me.
Okay.
I have witnessed all manner of poorly behaved professional wrestlers, and not only our nightclub,
Here's
but
the
other
thing.
nightclubs.
When he came in last night, okay. Of course, Jake's been coming in.
Was the phrase "Do you know who I am" used at any time?
Yes, it was. But here's how it started. He came up with Jake. It's late in the night. Didn't expect to see Jake or Brutus. Can I call him Brutus, or should I call him Beefcake?
Ed.
Ed?
His
Okay.
name is Ed
right.
Leslie.
Good dude. Anyway, comes up. He's fist bumping everybody. I go to shake his hand. I don't want to fist bump Ed, okay?
And he looks like you're trying to hand him a turd.
And Ed goes to me. He goes, finally, somebody that'll shake another man's hand. So
Manly man.
I shook his hand. Real, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And again, Jake walks away. Okay, that's fine. Busy, little few people in there last night. End of the night, lights on. Jake in the corner. Ed in the corner, but Ed's sleeping. He's tired. He's had a rough day.
He's asleep.
He's asleep. Yeah, he's tired.
He was
Literally,
drinking ginger ales all night, I'm sure.
Terry and Jeremy
Oh no.
and Jake
Oh no.
had to carry Ed
That's some tough ginger ale.
to his car, literally
Okay.
from the small bar.
Okay.
Literally,
Okay.
he wasn't using his legs. Honestly, I mean, I love Terry and I,
thought
love our
Terry.
staff.
I bet Terry thought it was a riot, though.
He looked a little disappointed. I'm going to say only because
You're
Terry,
a professional, damn it.
Terry actually had to physically carry him a good
Those
way.
guys have been on WWF pay-per-views together.
I got some
Major
good
pay-per-views
stories.
together.
They got him in the car, and Jake was in with us because apparently they were going back to a hotel. And Jake was like, well, "What do I do next?" Because I'm not getting him anywhere. So literally, you can on the
Jake,
cam-
Jake's probably watching this, by the way.
Oh, I love Jake. I mean, this is a great. Listen,
Love
this
you,
is
Jake.
not
Big
a knock
shot.
on these guys. Listen, that's why I this is not a negative light at all. Listen, when you get to meet these guys, first of all,
Dish it out.
Ed's still a big dude. Okay, he's not a small guy.
No.
Okay, he's still you can still tell that guy when he shook my hand. I was like,
He still works. He still works shows.
yeah. I mean, he's doing okay. So, but anyway, I look out in the camera and I see him in the car, And Ed is Ed's in the passenger seat, clearly driving.
They were smart. They didn't put him in the driver's
And he's got
seat.
this little smile on his face that I can see through the windshield. And he just looks so happy. And he owes it to Jake, I'm sure. Those guys, I'm sure they had a good time. Maybe they went home. I'm hoping they went home last night.
Jake didn't drink, I'm sure.
No, he was totally
No,
fine.
yeah, Jake doesn't drink anymore.
Totally fine. Yeah, he had 17 carryouts with him. He had dinner for the week, but
Right.
for both of them probably because there was a lot of carryouts. But anyway, it's just. I love Jake. Jake is, it seems like now, I follow him a little bit on Facebook. I'm not a real media guy with all that kind of stuff, but I do catch on. And he's involved with a lot of different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he's real supportive of our show because every time I go in there, it's like, hey, you doing your show with Gonzo and everything?
That's why I said Jake is probably
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
and love you, Big Shot.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to have you on.
Oh,
Actually.
100%, especially
we want to have you in
baseball.
here really, really, really soon.
Listen, there's a lot of, listen, he can be pro-Yankee. I got some anti-Yankee stuff. I'm sure we'll have a good time with it. So
And so I'll find some way to put the two of you over there on that side, so we'll have the two of you in a two-shot
I'm ready.
together, right next to one another.
I'm ready. Hey, listen, put him in my chair. I can.
We can put a second chair over there.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
so yeah, great stories last night. Listen, in that job, you've met, I'm sure, in the industry, just a lot of interesting people. We've been blessed to see all walks of life.
Sure.
Yeah. Yesterday, there was a few other walks of life that we weren't blessed to see that will be with us forever.
We can get off sports topic real quick here, okay? Because the big headline this morning that I saw in the news, as I do peruse the regular news, not just political news and not just sports news, but the city of Miami Beach has declared a state of emergency because of spring break. Because the airlines, in their zeal to get more asses on planes, in their zeal to pay for at least the fuel for the routes that are still running, they have instituted some very cheap airfares, round trip $50 to Philadelphia and New York, the large hubs. Thusly, we have had above regular, not just COVID level spring breaks, but above regular level spring breaks. Because, of course, idiot college kids are like, woo, the vaccine is out. We don't have to, but no masks. Blah, 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 blah. And so COVID is over for college kids. And COVID is over for Miami Beach.
It's been over for some adults too.
For some adults too, which that look on my face when I look at you like this, like I'm actually feeling sorry for you. It's like, because if you haven't gotten it and you don't have the antibodies or any way to fight it, you're really not going to enjoy COVID when you get it. It sucks. You have two people right here. One guy who had it for, would you have it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I had it for about 10 days of fever. It kinda
Freaking
sucked.
miserable.
Yeah, it was bad.
Okay. You ran a high temperature for what, about 8 days, 9 days?
Yeah, it wasn't so high. It got to about 102. I think was the highest.
Yeah,
it
I
got,
got
but it was
103.1.
but it was
I know because I kept
consistent.
taking it.
When you have even a low grade fever for a series of
miserable.
days, oh, it's so bad. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat,
And it was
whatever.
strong.
Yeah, whatever.
I had a mild case, and mine debilitated. And I'm one of those tough guys. I get the flu, I come to work. I get the flu, I don't care. I'll go on with life. Nope. So here we are at the tail end of this thing. We're in the home stretch. And if you're not taking it seriously, you're going to be one of those people that'll be like, well, I went a whole year and I didn't get it. What's the common denominator, dummy? Oh, I'm tired of wearing this. I'm wearing a chin strap. They no longer, people have gone from just over the mouth, nose popping out of the top, which is silly enough as it is. And now they're just chin straps.
Yeah.
Now you're just wearing a chin strap, and you wonder why you got it. You wonder why you get it. You wonder why you missed 2 weeks of work. You wonder why you ended up going to the hospital and run up a $6,000 hospital bill. Why? Because you're over it. You're tired. You deny it. It's a hoax. So now we've got tens of thousands of morons on Miami Beach, and now they're limited. There's an 8 p.m. curfew. There's a traffic limitation to go to Miami Beach. You can't drive down to Miami Beach now. And they've declared a state of emergency. And as we've seen in our industry, they're spilling over into the clubs, not just regular clubs or sports bars, but strip clubs as well.
Anywhere they can go, that's open. pretty much right now.
That's got alcohol.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. You can always tell the spring breakers. Okay, you can always tell the spring breakers because they ask how much a drink is in a strip club. You can always tell a tourist. You can always tell somebody who's worried about the money that they're spending. When you come to a strip club and you go, how much is a beer?
I got it better than that. I have more justification when, on average, 3 guys, probably about 21 years old, 22 years old, are coming up to me and go, dude, you have the greatest job ever. And it's like, quickly I can give
I
him
get that a
3
lot, too.
jobs
I
that
get
are
that a lot,
better.
too. I mean,
Yeah, but it's like, and of course you play along, and you're like, oh man, yeah, it's like, yeah, wow. And my answer is always the same. Like, yeah, the money's great, hours are brutal, whatever, do my thing, go home, Family Guy, because I don't want to be in that conversation with
Right.
this guy. Because the next question usually is, dude, all these beep, beep, girls, beep, and how do you beep? And it's like, man, just stop. Just go finish your Corona and get back in your Hyundai Elantra that you rented from
Elantra.
and just go back to your hotel. All right, because this is a job, and you're making it worse. You're the reason why it's not the greatest job.
This job's great, except
Yeah.
when I got to answer
Yeah.
stupid
When I gotta
questions
deal
and
with
listen
you.
to drunk idiots all
Yeah.
night telling me about how great my job is.
And how about this is Bill's thing? Bill's thing, he gets 3 of these a night now.
Oh, no.
Oh my God! Wow, how tall are you? Oh, you're the tallest guy. It's like it's just too much.
Well, they're
Just-
children. Come on, they're 21,
I know.
22, 23
I know.
years
And we were
old.
children too at one point.
Right.
It just seems like we were smarter
no, I
children.
didn't act like a child.
Well,
like
we were
that.
smarter
I mean,
children. Yeah.
I was 50 by the time I turned 19.
Yeah.
But
Does every generation think that they were smarter than the next generation?
our generation can say that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, because our generation, when it came to, and once again, I've railed about this. Okay, generations had different forms of education and different levels and layers of education, and ours was probably the last form of education that didn't include Common Core education.
Okay, and also too, what's important is the methods of acquiring
Right.
the information.
Yep.
Took a little work.
Yep.
Now it is, again, it's easier to access the knowledge. So I think the kids now are smarter. But just because you're smarter than the guy behind you doesn't make you more efficient.
Right.
It doesn't make you better in terms of production.
Or knowledge retention or practical use of said knowledge.
all these other things that matter. Certainly, yes, you may know more things, but how do
Right.
you apply those things? How does that work?
With the advent of the internet, you know more crap.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But of all the crap that you know, what percentage of that crap that you know can you put to practical use?
Or be willing to put to practical
Okay.
use.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
thing. Right now, all that's happened, I think, is people have they're smarter at accessibility.
Yeah.
They have the means, they have the ability to look
They're
and
really
find.
good at trivia contests.
But in terms of using the knowledge, like you said, applying the knowledge, and then finding directive in things and meaning, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's a wrap because
Yeah.
these kids are lost. It's unfortunate.
Because and it really is because Common Core education, because they have literally been teaching kids to pass and get high scores on these Common Core tests for funding accreditation.
Yes, sir. That's what it is.
Because the money has been swiped by every governmental administration on the state and federal level. They have cut the education budget is the first thing that gets cut every time. So they have to fight for their money.
You know what gets me when they rate these
They're
schools?
raising dummies.
They rate these schools. This is an A school. This is a B school. This
Yeah.
is a C school. When you realize that you've assessed a system to grade performance and you have a C school, okay, and a school stays a C school year 2, year 3, year 4, is there a problem with that? Shouldn't they make that C school at least a B school? You know, they're still the kids are at that school, are they not?
Right.
Are the kids different at the C school than they are at the A school? Is it a funding issue? The reason why these schools maintain their status as A and B and C?
Right.
It's a sick system. It really is.
Well,
It's unfortunate because the kids that are in the C schools are the ones that end up suffering.
Right.
And that's a whole other discussion with
I mean,
accreditations.
listen, I've never had kids of my own, but of course I have tons of friends who have kids, but I have mentored young people. I have helped young people with their homework. I'm like, this is incredibly easy. Why are you having a problem with this? But the thing that I have noticed is that better young people come up as their parents are engaged, fully engaged, and interested in their child's education. They help them with their homework. They answer questions. They pay attention to what's going on with the kid in school. Okay, they are invested in the excellence of their children.
Yeah.
Okay, your daughter is prime example. She is smart as a whip, and I know you help her with homework as much as you can. But I'm sure her homework confuses you, even you now.
A lot of Google search on the home.
A lot of Google search on the homework. Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
You know, but I mean, I have friends who have turned out fantastic young adults. Their kids are now in their early 20s, and they're going for bar exams, and they're going for licensures that I'm like, you have to be licensed for that? Don't you have to know, like, particle physics for that or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, but the main thing about those kids were their parents, my friends, people who I know, people who I have helped pick up out of a urine-soaked ditch, drunk out of their minds as a young person, okay? But when they had kids, they got laser focused on their child. They got involved.
Yeah.
And the problem has been not only Common Core, but people are too busy trying to just make a living working 2 jobs even, that they can't spend enough time with their kids to help their kids and to guide their kids to becoming useful members of society, taking this abundance of knowledge, of information that they are flooded every day with Google and just computers and just websites, and it's all in there. The only problem is the kid's got a professional toolbox, okay, stacked high, 15 drawers of complicated tools. And all they can use is a ball peen hammer and a Phillips screwdriver.
Can't change a tire.
That's all they know how to use.
Yeah.
And that's all they know how to use.
Yeah. Here's what's happening.
And play video games.
What's happening, like you said, with that Common Core, it makes a lot of sense, is they only have to get to the surface. Once they understand what's on the surface, they don't have to find the depth of what created that environment. So it's all surface-related knowledge. It's, do you know this? Put this answer. It's A. Check it off. Boom. Wow, this kid's really smart. How's he really smart? Well, he knew the answer to that. The C is the answer. But what is that answer going to do for him when he's done taking that test? Okay, yeah, he got 100 on that test, but what is that going to do for him? How is it going to make him a better person? How is he going to apply that knowledge to this job and all this other stuff? And then a lot of times that doesn't translate.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Definitely. I mean, listen, your math skills have translated to a lot of different various segments of your life, from fantasy baseball to college to your professional life.
Everything, yes.
Okay? Which is a good way for me to segue as we segue back to football. My beloved Miami Dolphins traded last Wednesday for what can best be considered a project player, a young man named Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle out of the University of Georgia. He was a 2020 first-round draft choice of the Tennessee Titans. Considered to be an excellent prospect. A can't-miss kid, 6'3", 310 pounds. He's got arms and legs like a gorilla. He is an absolute beast of an offensive lineman, and supposedly a good kid. Okay, University of Georgia, as much as you want to talk about SEC programs being football feeders, Georgia doesn't let athletes just slide by. You have to hold I think it's a 2.2 GPA. You have to get grades.
You have to go to class.
You have to go to class.
Yeah.
Okay, so young man went to school. He went to class. However he slid by, I don't know. But once he reached the NFL, something did not click with him. He had all kinds of trouble staying out of trouble when he was at Tennessee. And now when he comes to South Florida, he has hometown ties with Coach Flores. Okay, hometown ties. They're from the same town in New York, the same suburb of New York City, the same town. He's known this kid since he was a kid. He knows the family.
That's good. That'll help.
Okay, they had his college teammate Solomon Kindly on the team. He has various people who have known him. Okay, so he was in an environment that would help him transition and become a good pro, and he dropped the ball hard. Okay, he's supposed to come in for orientation, basically induction to the team. You know, here's your packet. Here's our rules. Here's this is. Go for your physical. All of that. 3.5 hours late to that.
Wow.
Then when they finally got him there and they got everything under control, and they said he had a little bit of an attitude, but some kids are a little weird like that. So they set him up for a scheduled physical. They set him up for scheduled voluntary workouts, which he said, okay, and he agreed to 3 of them and blew all of them off. Okay, and then the Instagram video of him standing on top of a car dancing. And in the background, I saw a girl dancing on the hood of the car. Okay, I'm already suspicious. I'm already suspicious of female influence. I'm already suspicious of drugs and alcohol. Okay, young man got a few $100,000 when he signed his rookie contract.
Yeah,
he's got
enjoying
he's got a
life.
couple of nickels in his pocket, and now I bet he's found himself a girlfriend who is loving the high life. Okay, well now they can no longer talk about him collecting millions of dollars. Okay, even though his rookie contract would have been $2.1 million in his first season, now all he has is a dwindling bank account with his signing bonus, and that's not going to last very long at all. He's outright blown 2 chances in the NFL. One on a hometown friend of the family chance at the NFL.
Well, I mean, listen, these stories are unfortunately prevalent in all sports. And the sadness, again, and we've talked about this, is that these kids don't end up one day with all these issues. It's usually
Practical use of the education that you have.
it's a progression, usually of bad choices that are
Horrible.
usually either swept aside because in a kid's situation like this, everybody probably saw the talent, the potential.
DeMarcus Russell.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that fit this. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys, not the stereotype, they come from tough situations, broken homes, lower income areas. They don't have the environment that they grow up in is just very difficult, very tough to succeed in. And then these guys get through because of their athletics, and they get to these colleges, and now they are enabled to be in these situations and make bad choices. But there's teachers, there's coaches, there's peers, there's a lot of people
And he's
along the
had
way
them.
that could have helped this kid and should have helped this kid. So yes, if all these other people have reached out to him and he continues to make these bad choices, unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be very difficult for him to turn things around.
Right. Listen, one of the big selling points about playing for the Tennessee Titans is that Mike Vrabel and their staff have made a very player-friendly, yet accountable, responsible, professional, adult type of an atmosphere. But the boys are the boys, and they take care of each other. They take crazy good care of each other. You take a look at Derrick Henry, okay? He bought all of his offensive linemen, not just the starting 5, not the starting 5 or 6 guys, all 10 offensive linemen, including the guy that was on the practice squad. Why? Because he wears the blue.
Yeah.
Okay, he's on the team. That's a brother.
Sure.
Okay,
Because at any point, that brother can have to. You may need that brother.
you may exactly.
you may
It's
need
a
that
team
brother.
sport.
Yeah.
You may need that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. He was in an environment in Tennessee where I'm sure he was getting phone calls. I'm sure he was getting phone calls from Ryan Tannehill. I'm sure he was getting text messages
I'm sure.
from Derrick Henry.
Well, again, it supports my theory
from Taylor Lewan.
about how, unfortunately, some guys just never get it.
You know, they have coaches, they have assistant coaches and coordinators that are notorious for being player coaches.
Yeah.
And that's why the culture at Tennessee changed the minute that Mike Vrabel walked through the door. Okay, because he stacked that entire thing. Professionalism, accountability, just do your damn job.
Yeah.
and we'll have your back 100 million %.
I think successful players that have become coaches probably deserve a little bit more clout, deserve a
Sure.
little bit more respect.
Sure.
They've traveled the same roads. They've been through the same environment for their careers. They're athletes. They understand the ups and downs of the game. It's not just
that
about
kid
performance.
dropped the ball in that atmosphere.
It's not
Then
a
he
good
comes to
look.
Miami, which has now developed the reputation for having that culture. They may be a little more accountability and responsibility oriented. Okay, a little more of a drill sergeant mentality.
Sure.
Okay, but I can tell you for a fact that Coach Flores has a reputation for he may not be an outward players coach, but he has an open door policy. He has young guys, young fellas in his office talking to them all the time, and he doesn't talk down his nose to you. Okay, he talks man to man to you.
Sure.
Okay,
Well, you expect
So-
performance from a man. You treat him like
exactly.
a man. That's the way it
exactly.
works.
You know, I mean, and one of the reasons why you have seen him have so much changeover and turnover in his assistant ranks is because he has moved guys on. Chad O'Shea, although he gets along with quarterbacks, Chad O'Shea as an offensive coordinator really doesn't mesh with offensive linemen or running backs or any. He is a quarterback coach.
Right.
Okay, so he has turned over assistants that are closer to being complete player coaches, but still holding them accountable. I mean, that's why he brought Chan Gailey in. Chan
Right.
Gailey was a really good players coach.
Plus, he's been around a lot of players
Right.
over his career. He pretty much
know.
probably understands personalities at
Right.
this point in the NFL.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which is important, obviously, for coaching as
Right.
well. Yeah.
I mean, but listen, they're going to benefit from this 1 year that they had Chan Gailey in house because Chan showed a lot of people how things should be done.
Yeah.
Now, was Chan frustrated and retired? He's like, I should have never come out of retirement. So he went back into retirement.
Yeah.
You won't see Chan Gailey pop up on somebody else's team. He came out of retirement probably for Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay, because they have history together. But the point being is this kid blew his huge second chance. And I think it's part of the fact that even though he has been bombarded and packed with a lot of knowledge in his head, a lot of information in his head, he has no practical application. And then when you put a couple of dollars in a kid's pocket, let me tell you what, if you gave me $300,000 when I was 21 years old, I'd be dead already.
It's pretty
I'd be
hard
dead.
to imagine that there wouldn't have been a few bad decisions.
I'd be dead.
Yeah. See, that's the
When I was 21, I was a freaking animal. Okay, I was an absolute lunatic when I was 21. Okay, if you gave me $300,000 when I was 21 years old, you would probably find me dead in a fiery car crash, because at that time I would have probably bought a Corvette ZR1. I would have definitely died in a fiery car crash. The toxicology report would have been a 2-page. Oh my God, could people actually do this many drugs and drink that much alcohol and still function? Yeah, it would have been nuts. It would have been bananas.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I fully admit I would have been out of control up until about the time I was 23, 24. I was a maniac. I was a certifiable maniac. Thank God I got myself under control. I didn't, catch a charge or have to go to rehab.
Yeah.
Okay, but I had a good support system. I had great parents that were like, "All right, cut the crap." I had friends that were like, "You do too much.
Yeah.
You're too much. I can't hang out with you no more.
Yeah.
Tell me if you're going to drink that much tequila again, because I don't want to have to get into a fight with 3 cops again."
It's easy to
so-
judge people based upon just their decisions from what they appear to be. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy like that.
He's
or other
showing
guys
us,
too.
though.
Well, I mean, this guy's
Nobody
different.
would have known about me doing. Nobody would have known about me doing a half a pound of cocaine and drinking a full bottle of Cuervo Gold and then getting behind the wheel of a car that can do 200 miles an hour. Nobody would have known about that.
Well, it's different now too with the
Yeah,
NFL.
there was no social media. The only people that would have known about that were people that would watch me go staggering out of the bar, going,
Yeah.
"Did he just drink a whole bottle of tequila. Yeah. Why was he in the bathroom for a half an hour?
See, now, this is an interesting point. What does that tell you now when you know these teams are doing everything they possibly can to help these players? They shadow them with sponsors and with people and with money and with programs and with, they never have to get behind the wheel of a car. They never have to worry about any of these decisions that everyday people have to make to not make a bad decision. They don't have to worry about these things. The teams are their safety nets in every aspect, and yet they still fail.
Right.
And that's why it's hard to sympathize. And I get why people overgeneralize these athletes in these situations. They look at this guy and go, well, look at all these NFL players. They're this, they're that. Again, in every aspect of life, you have people that fail.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's just in this aspect of life, sometimes it may be a little bit easier to fail because, like you said, all you have to do is wake up.
Yeah.
And you have the means and the abilities to indulge in poor decision-making at a young age.
Decision-making.
It's a lot of responsibility. And that's why the ones that come out on the other side deserve all the credit. Because they're faced with those same decisions, and they make the right ones.
You know who those guys are? Those are guys that before they get drafted, maybe even in their junior or senior year in college, they get married to either their high school or college sweetheart that they have been with for a year. They get married to that woman. They're family kids. Okay, they get out of school. They go right back to their family home. Yeah. Okay, they go right back to mom and dad.
Whatever stories
they stay family oriented. They stay down home. They stay hometown.
Whatever they choose,
and they're able to mature.
And I'm sure many, hopefully, athletes take that path. But the rest of them that don't, 99% of these athletes do it the right way. I mean, honestly,
a lot of them do,
because all you're seeing is the negative. You're only seeing the stories that blow up in your face.
Right.
And then the next reach, again, is that overgeneralization of athletes in general by saying, oh, look at that football player. They all do this. Or these athletes they're beating their wives and they're doing the drugs. And that's just not the case. There are cases.
Exceptions to the rule.
It's not the general rule, exactly. Right. So get off my athletes.
Exceptions to the rule. A guy like Xavier Howard, okay, who plays for the Dolphins, all-pro corner. Xavier had a little bit of a domestic kerfuffle last year and the year before with his girlfriend / fiance / wife, who was pregnant at the time, and Xavier was rehabbing a knee injury, a knee surgery. Okay, and they got into a verbal altercation, and she shoved him, and he pushed her away from him. Get off me! My legs hurt. What are you doing? And she fell down, and she hit her ass really hard, and I'm sure that maybe alcohol might have been involved.
Maybe.
But the police were called, and she was mad and high emotions, and yes, young couples have fights, okay, but stuff like that gets into the public eye.
Of course it does, yeah.
And things get misconstrued.
Yeah, of course they do.
Okay, and what happened? She dropped the charges. She refused to press charges. And now they're on the verge of getting married, and they're a happy couple. They go through it. Okay, he was going through it. She was going through it. They're 22, 23, 24 years old. Okay, I remember the fights that I had with my girlfriends when I was 24, 25. Well, F you, neighbors are banging on the apartment wall. It's like, shut up, it's 3 a.m.
Pick up something and throw it against the wall. Right. It gets crazy.
It's stupid stuff.
Yeah, it's immaturity. It's some things like that. You gauge you measure each incident on its own.
Right.
And again, not knowing all his details in that situation, you can certainly see on the other side they've come out of it.
Sure.
So and maybe a little overblown at the time.
Even the ones that should know better, like the Antonio Browns of this world, okay, although we all know that there had to be alcohol and drugs involved in that, because
a lot of alcohol and
he
drugs.
got counseling, and then all of a sudden he's back to being normal Antonio.
Yeah.
But we've all been there. We've all dealt with those things. But Deshaun Watson.
Oh, my gosh. What is going on? Another example of how it's...
Why?
I don't know. Talking out of both sides of my mouth, I guess, now a little bit.
It's tough. This is a tough one, dude.
We have to be careful when we put these athletes on a pedestal in the same regard we just said how most of them maybe deserve to be on that pedestal.
Sure.
There are some that clearly we may be wrong about. And I'm just going to say this about Deshaun Watson. We talked about this before the show. I don't know all the details of what's going on. I don't know if all of these women's stories will line up and represent the stories that are being told about whatever it is and his forcefulness and what. Okay, forget all that.
Right.
It bothers me that when everybody has an opinion about a guy or a girl or a situation, and that situation is, again, everybody, Deshaun Watson, he's a stand-up guy. Oh, he's a Christian. He's a this, he's a fan, whatever. And then you come to find out that perhaps you are so wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody happens to be so wrong. That scares me. That scares me a lot. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that when you start to throw out terms like sociopath and master manipulator and, deception and all this other stuff where, again, there's a lot of girls now, a lot of women coming out and saying stuff.
Oh, yeah.
One person comes out, and you're like, well, maybe that girl's got a grudge. It's an ex-girlfriend. She's angry.
Right.
To a friend of an ex-girlfriend, okay? Maybe you banged your sister.
Like Antonio Brown.
Yeah. There's, yeah.
Okay, like
14. Where are we
right.
up to now? 14 girls? 14 women?
They're talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now the numbers keep mounting up. They seem to all be massage therapists, and they all seem to have a common theme. He wants them to touch his pee-pee.
Yes.
Touch his pee-pee. He wants oral sex. He is bullying them and coercing them. One woman was bullied into oral sex multiple times.
That seems
I mean, listen,
yeah.
I'm not one to victim shame or blame. I'm not. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
And I'll say this too. When we said there's 2 sides to
Right.
the stories, 3 sides, 10 sides.
Right.
I mean, it's not black and white stuff.
Right.
So go ahead.
And we like to compare these things to other high-profile cases that are similar, okay, like the Cosby case. Okay, well, let's draw conclusions based on the Cosby case. The Cosby case, when his first accuser came out, before she and her lawyer came on the television and made their declaration on public television, criminal charges had already been filed. Okay, they came to say that we are filing criminal charges against William Cosby. Okay, they came on to say, and they also said that there will be others that are coming forward. And they, each one of them, as they told their tale of abuse and of being drugged and being coerced into sex whilst under these drugs, secretly drugged, okay, we were dealing with America's dad.
Well, here's the thing too: is we had perception versus reality.
Right, America's dad. We're talking about a stand-up comic that didn't curse, a guy with a squeaky clean image, squeaky clean.
Yeah, but I will say this: when you're doing something so heinous for so long, people know. So,
Right.
and again, and I think a lot of people in that situation, especially Cosby's, they knew what he was doing. And they still let it go on. Why? Because it was Bill
Mr.
Cosby.
Huxtable.
It was Bill Cosby. In this
Mr.
situation,
Huxtable. Dr. Huxtable.
I'm wary to draw these conclusions, first of all, because situations are different, timing is different, people are different, circumstances are different.
He turned out to be a friggin' monster.
The only similarity between Cosby and Deshaun are the fact is that they are prominent black people, rich, famous. One's an athlete, one was America's dad, okay, that everybody was wrong on, okay, and it hurts.
Well, now wait. Now the jury's still out, figuratively and literally, on Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Now again, I'm not drawing the same comparisons in terms of what they did. I'm only drawing the comparisons in terms of our perception of who these people are or were or are.
Well, take color out of the mix.
Well, the only reason why I say that is because, again, now if it was a white star or a white athlete, maybe you're right. You wouldn't introduce color, but in this situation, you have to be careful because you want success across the board.
Sure.
You want to see everybody succeed. You want to see the black actor, the black athlete, the white actor.
The principle of equality.
The common denominator here is that you have male, successful, powerful people that have decided to take advantage of women. And there is no room for that in any aspect of society, whether it's in sports, or it's in, if you're a celebrity, if you're a politician, if you're your neighbor, your doctor, your lawyer, whatever.
It's old school, but it's so old school, it's literally prehistoric. It is literally Cro-Magnon.
There's too many.
Okay, this is 2021, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, here's a guy that had means, had power, had money, had an opportunity to make a lot better decisions, and it seems as though, again, with the numbers of women that are coming out with these similar stories,
Good-looking, rich NFL quarterback.
it's worrisome that everybody was wrong, okay, and that you come to find out that these sorts of things are going on. Now, I'm not judging him on the act of wanting to be pleased, for a lack of better words, sexually, let's say.
Touch my pee-pee.
The guy's got a thing. Okay, we all got things.
We all
get
got
it.
things.
And
I like women half my age.
And you know what? He didn't go to, I'm sure, at least we haven't found out to this point, he went to women's houses or met them at apartments and hotels. He drugged them and make them do things they didn't want to do. No.
And by the way, I'm over the age of 50. Women half my age happen to be adults. But anyway.
What scares me about this is the intelligence and the ability to manipulate.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the people he's involved with, the people who are in these acts that we're discussing, but manipulate everybody else and get them to believe that you are this when you really are that.
Hey.
And that's what worries me. That's somebody you can't trust. It's somebody who's deceitful. It's somebody who has to spend a lot of time and energy being someone else.
Ted Bundy was a quiet next-door neighbor who was a real charmer and a real sweet guy.
Yeah. And he killed a lot of people. He was a crazy MO.
I mean, that's the worst case scenario.
MOF.
I mean, we those people, those women could only be so lucky. His victims could only be so lucky that he just wanted a little rub and tug, or a little mouth hug, if you will.
I mean, listen, we're not saying this guy is what. Again, all the details haven't come out. All I'm saying, it's scary enough to know that you perceive somebody.
I want to know where the criminal charges are now.
They may come, and they will come probably at some point. Some lawyer.
But this story has been out there for 3 weeks now.
It's building steam, though. It's not dying off.
All I've seen is now they're saying they're filing civil charges.
Well, that's a way to settle. That's a safe way to know you're going to get a check. And that doesn't bode well in terms of the victim's story, because then you lose credibility.
That was the first thing out of Watson's mouth was this guy hit me up for money, and I told him no.
And that could very well be somewhat true,
I had treated
too.
women with nothing but the utmost respect.
All right, and I believe that. But I will say that it's too many. It's the whole UFO thing. We talk about it all the time. Only one has to be right. Okay, only one of those stories has to be accurate of all those women that have told their stories.
With proof.
It doesn't, again, whatever. Only one of them has to be provable. Only one.
True.
And that makes your assessment now of him totally changes.
Totally.
And he totally loses all credibility. He totally loses all that we thought he was. Now it's, again, once you're labeled a particular thing in this sort of light, it's tough to change. Ray Rice, all these other guys that
Cosby went from Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, America's dad, to this monster that drugs women and has sex with them while they're half conscious.
Yes.
A monster.
Yeah,
he went from an iconic TV dad to think about this. Think about this. The Cosby Show was the highest rated show.
Syndication. Oh, during the time, too.
At the time that it was out.
Yeah.
It was the highest rated television show every week for about 8 years. 8 years.
Yeah, it had a
Nobody
really good run.
could touch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fall from grace from him was meteoric. I say that the jury is still out on Deshaun Watson. It is. It is literally still out on Deshaun Watson. I'm hoping. I'm hoping he's innocent. I'm hoping that this is something that is manufactured, that has been exaggerated for the purpose of trying to extort money from him.
No, I'm worried because, again, it's simple math.
And I'm worried as well.
Let's say half the women are full of shit.
Right. Then the other half are right?
That means half of them are not. Yeah.
Well, first of all, there have only been 3 women named. They say that there are 9 to 10 other women ready to come out with their story.
Sure.
But supposedly there's only 3 now that have put their name on paper. And none of those names have gone to criminal charges, at least not by the time this has come up. I'm sure maybe there's somebody in the chat right now that's going, no, charges have been filed, and I'll check the news afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
But
and this story is not dead. There
hardly,
will be
just getting
charges.
started.
There will be charges because again, there's just too many. Math tells me that again, only one story has to be legit,
Right.
And if all 13 stories are somewhat similar,
Yep.
then there's some truth in what's being told.
Well,
and that's
you
scary.
know, the FBI, of course, is probably one of the better investigatory law enforcement agencies on the planet.
Yeah.
Them and probably
Well, now they are.
probably the world police. Okay, between the two of them, okay, it's the FBI. But there's only one organization, one private organization that has a better investigatory arm to it, and that is the National Football League. Okay, and who do they hire? They hire guys from the FBI.
Oh, no question.
And the CIA.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, too.
So when when the words NBA is investigating are connected to the story, okay, you're getting FBI level investigation. Okay, whatever local law enforcement is happening, or
They're
state
gonna
law
they're
enforcement,
gonna subpoena phone records with
Oh.
this, text messaging, phone calls. Again, no rock is going to be not unturned to find out
It's
what's
like,
going on.
How did
here.
they get stool samples?
Yeah,
You know, they
yeah.
got guys crawling through sewers to find out everything.
They will get to the bottom of this, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to end well for Deshaun Watson. And we're again all right. We spent
We
20
gonna
minutes on
find
Deshaun. Let's give a minute to the victims. Hey, sorry that this has
Sorry.
happened to you.
Yes.
because unfortunately,
it's a friggin' shame. I'm
if
a big
this
fan
is
of
true,
massage therapists.
yeah, there are POSs out there that
Horrible.
have means that take advantage of
Terrible.
you women, and you should be shot and killed.
Terrible.
So there's no
You know,
excuse for that at all. And
when
if this
when
is
I
the
heard
case,
Antonio Brown got into it with his massage therapist, okay, and like physically abused her, his punishment was just. He was suspended for a year. He was put on the exempt list. Take your money away.
Yeah, and they
you were
should have
supposed to
given it
make
to
$10
her.
million, and you lost $10 million
Yeah.
because you got into a fist fight with your
yeah, and they should
almost
have
dropped
given,
an F-bomb.
They should
Yeah.
have given it to her. So
Well, I think she
She
did
got
have
a
a
settlement,
settlement.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, but no, you do not violate that covenant that with your massage therapist. There's a level of trust there. There's a level of confidentiality. There's a level. I mean, it's an intimate relationship.
that's why it's so important.
Okay.
I heard Shannon Sharp talk about this because again, these issues came up,
Right.
And he's like, "I've had the same massage therapist for 15
15 years.
Yeah, there's a reason for that because you have a trust and you have a relationship because you are in the spotlight and you know that you are a target. So you have to surround yourself and make good choices to know that people unfortunately want to do harm to you on many levels.
Yeah.
So you insulate and you protect. That's part of the price of fame that everybody in that environment is aware of. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, again, maybe he didn't do all these women wrong, okay? And maybe some of these things are just bad choices that come to light, and you're like, well, maybe if he had made this choice, it wouldn't be as bad as what it appears to be. Now, in this case, with so many women, I don't think that's the case. But first girl, second girl, third girl, he should have said, you know what? Wow, this doesn't seem right. Or somebody should have said, yeah, this is a problem. We should probably stop this behavior. Didn't happen.
It looks like an established pattern.
And now we're at the point now where
Right.
there's all these women. So
Right.
after Deshaun Watson, in my opinion,
Easy.
and
easy.
I'm sorry,
He's innocent
I've already-
still.
I'm guilty in the public eye, and he's guilty.
He's innocent
He's
until
guilty.
proven guilty.
Yeah, he's guilty for me. So
You are so.
anyway, guilty for me. And it sucks. It sucks because I don't want guys to fail. I don't want athletes to feed into the stigma that we fight against, which is they're this, they're that. They make bad decisions. Again, the always and nevers in life suck in general, but when they apply to sports,
Well-
they're worse.
Okay, what about this? What about this theory? Okay, it wasn't Deshaun Watson. It was an alien.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking aliens.
Let's talk aliens.
No, so that would be an alien pattern of behavior.
And by the way-
instead of probing them, they want them to be probed.
Look, in June sometime, there is going to be a major decommission of a lot of classified information on stuff.
You like how I segued you away from that?
Man, you crushed it.
You were getting a little irate.
I looked in the distance and I saw the light creak from the door slightly opening, and I ran to it because I knew we were going this way. So I'm ready to go. In a couple of months, right around my birthday, actually, they're going to be releasing a lot of information. Get online and read, because there's a lot of interesting stuff, and I fight you to the tooth and nail for this, and I do with my wife all the time. She is such a non-believer in aliens. And I get it. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm only here to talk about math. And we do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Only got to have one.
Well, what's crazy right now?
Just one.
What's crazy because you've over the past year, or actually the past 2 years, you have managed to sway me into looking into alien stories. And the really scary crap that's going to come out is what China and Russia are starting to report, and they're starting to leak out there. Now, of course, we can all be skeptical about Chinese and Russian media. Okay, we can be skeptical because we know that they're both state run. All right, they really have no semblance of independent media outlets. At least with American media,
you got 46 different channels you can tune into and get lied to,
and
there it's just one lie.
Right,
the government puts it out.
But so. if half of them are lying to you, half of them are telling you the truth, or a semblance of the truth. Yeah. So at least we get half of the truth in the United States, and usually the crazier the shit that they put on, the crazier the stuff they put out, usually it's closer to the truth that it is. So we're looking at stuff coming from Antarctica. There may actually be an alien base in Antarctica that the CIA and the NSA and the military don't want us to know about.
And our Space Force?
And it's our Space Force, exactly. There's been the discovery and cover-up of a giant, and when I say giant, I mean like 40-foot tall, double iron doors, double metallic doors in Antarctica. That when the expeditionary team of 4 guys, 2 of whom were Navy SEALs and they were contractors for the military, when they came upon this and then they reported back, they were debriefed and they were sworn to secrecy. This was discovered 2 years ago.
Yeah, and now you haven't found those guys.
And no, those guys are coming out and now they're saying
now they're
things.
Talking, yeah.
Now they're coming out and saying things. Of course, they're telling the alien people, everybody who's reporting about aliens, because let's face it, people snap up that idea.
Let me just throw some overall cover statements at you that you can go look at and see. Go put in Chilean government and UFOs.
Oh, yeah. It's all.
Go look at Harry Reid and in our own country, what he did back, I think it started in 2012 with that ATIP program.
Right.
Okay, that was another one.
And Harry is also tied to Area 51 because that's his state.
Okay, yes. Go, and again, nice connection. Go back to Ronald Reagan's speech when he addressed the United Nations about how he was trying to bring the world together. And his one comment was, what would happen if the world was faced with an extraterrestrial encounter and that we had to all come together as one united world? Would that happen?
Independence Day.
And that was his own, that was Ronald Reagan. Everybody loves Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
So, of course, Ronald Reagan speaks, everybody listens. And that was something that you can go Google it. It's his whole speech about Star Wars and about the whole
he scared
thing.
the friggin' jelly beans out of everybody.
Okay, Jimmy Carter, also very well known as being proponents and being very well aware. Donald Trump, another one, was going to actually say something. They probably had to tie him down and stick a sock in his mouth.
Listen, when Jimmy came into office, one of the first things he wanted to know is I want to know all the secrets.
Yeah.
I don't want plausible deniability. I am the president. I want to know all the dirty stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to know it up front.
I will argue it until it is eventually physically proven where somebody can go, hey, that guy's an alien. It's math for me.
Right.
It's always math. Life is math.
Right.
Life is math. Our bodies are math. The
Right.
universe is math. Everything is math.
There are billions of planets out there.
I don't even know where they are. I don't care. I know our planet, and I know that a lot of people here have seen a lot of things, and we have a lot of proof from a lot of smart people. They all can't be wrong.
No.
They can't be wrong.
No.
Okay, it doesn't work like that. You flip a coin enough times, you flip 100 heads. Guess what 101's going to be?
Tails.
Fucking tails. Oh, sorry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't. Where's our 7 seconds? It doesn't matter. Okay?
Right.
It's going to be tails eventually. That's all. Done. Don't argue with me. I'm done with this conversation already. They're there. We'll find them. Unfortunately, I think we have
Before
already
they
found
find
them.
us,
Before
they found us
Well, they've already
already.
found us. But we can't handle masks, and we're going to handle aliens. Are you kidding me?
They
really
have left so many markers around this planet, okay? So many unexplainable markers around this planet of their visitation, whether it be thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, or last Thursday, okay? They've left, I mean, come on, the pyramids, I mean, come on, Stonehenge. I mean, there are so many markers.
Wawa.
Wawas,
Yeah.
Wawas are, I mean,
How does it take us that long to come up with a gas station / Publix? I mean, it makes. I mean, come on, somebody should. That's aliens.
well, I mean,
we
listen,
didn't think of that.
Costco started having gas stations a while back.
Yeah, cheap gas, dude.
Okay, you know, and cheap gas too.
It's old gas,
But
cheap
it's old gas,
Yeah, it's
but
old
still,
gas.
leftovers.
Leftover gas. There's 2 guys going around to generators and lawnmowers in every community. Yeah, you know what that? Come here.
Siphoning
Yeah,
gas.
yeah, generation lawnmowers.
But the you know the concept is becoming less far fetched every day because, like you, more people are like, mathematically, it's possible. You know, I mean, and we're being
Likely.
we're being spoon fed through mass media, through entertainment. We're being spoon fed the real possibility. Okay, we're being spoon fed the real possibility, so that when it does happen, our brains don't explode.
First of all, our government is set up in a sense that it's about control. That's why you have a government. It's about
Right.
rule, and it's about order, and it's about discipline, and it's
Right.
about structure. Okay. All right, now that being said,
Don't get me started about those guys.
our government feels, probably rightfully so, that we don't need to know everything that goes on in this world. Okay, because if we did, we wouldn't function. Okay, we'd have grandmas
Men
and
in Black.
grandpas and people screaming in the streets, and it would be chaos and anarchy across this entire country. By the simplest of things, we've seen it this year alone.
Just the long shot
Yeah.
of a row
Yeah.
of houses, and everybody just comes running out
Yeah,
into the
just
middle of the
totally
street and running down the.
freaking out. Now, introduce 11-foot tall green guy with an eye in the center of his head.
Clothes flying off.
All right, what happens to Mayberry at that point?
And not only that, but that guy with the eye in the center of his head, he also has an IQ of 25,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. So
Okay.
it's okay. We're not ready. Maybe this is the slow introduction of getting us ready. The movies, the Area 51, all this other stuff, and eventually the bomb will drop. And
Dude,
we'll
we are the
understand.
rusted out double wide at the end
The
of a
galaxy.
deserted
That's Earth.
cul-de-sac.
That's Earth.
Okay, and we are a family of 9 living in that double wide. Everybody's got a gun. Half the family hates the other half of the family.
Yeah.
Okay, and we shoot at anybody who comes down the street. Okay, that's us. That is us, and we insist. And everybody smokes cigarettes and cigars and crack.
You can't have 6 cousins in a trailer because the math doesn't add up. They're not all cousins.
And they breed.
yeah, they're not all cousins.
They're all first cousins.
Yeah, they're not all cousins. But in any case, yeah,
First cousins and wives.
not generalizing the inner
And brothers
part,
and sisters.
inner part of America. But yeah, we're not ready for aliens.
We are the rusted out double wide at the end of a deserted cul-de-sac, and that's our galaxy.
Yeah, but you know what though? Unfortunately, we've made it that way. The inhabitants have. Earth is
Sure.
still an amazing place.
Sure.
The God's creation, and I'm going there because that's what I believe in. Still,
Sure.
in the universe is amazing in its own.
And in the beginning, God made the double wide, and it was shiny, and it was
Yes.
new, and it
Yes.
was beautiful, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And the first thing we did was take a dump in the middle of the living room floor.
Yes, we did. Yeah, and then we brought our neighbors in, and they took a dump in the middle of the floor as well.
Right, and
Yeah.
it had a nice apple tree out front.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we did after taking a dump in the middle of the floor is walk outside and pull it. And God said, "Don't touch the apple." And there was this apple.
Yeah.
that apple.
Like,
This apple.
yeah,
Don't do it. Don't do it. Crunch.
yeah.
That's it.
Done. floods,
plagues,
plagues,
that's
diseases.
That's how you got the rust in the double wide.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I understand the fallible creature that is man, and I totally respect people's right to have faith in a higher power. I do. I know that I survived last summer because I have something that I haven't done yet. Obviously, I have some purpose that I have yet to actually fulfill.
We have at least 67 more shows to do.
At least.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of atheism, but it is a matter of our place in the universe. We're the Hicks. We're the hillbillies that nobody wants to go near right now. You want to drive down. You only want to drive down the cul-de-sac in the middle of the night with your lights off. Drive by, look with binoculars. Don't get out of the car, and then when the light comes on, leave. Okay.
Let nobody see you.
Don't let anybody see you.
No.
Much less let Paul come out with his shotgun and the dogs. Okay. So that's us. It is what we are. We are what we is. All right. And hopefully we become more enlightened creatures as we go along. Hopefully we discover warp drive and the Vulcans come down and make first contact with us. And then and hopefully what happens from that first contact isn't what happened in the mirror universe in Star Trek, where instead of Zefram Cochrane going ha and shaking hands, he pulls out a shotgun and kills the Vulcans, and then we reverse engineer their ship, and we take Terran Empire, which would be horrible, but that's something we would do. All right, that's going to wrap up our show because now we've drifted into science fiction. And
I like science fiction.
This has been a little more of a sociological episode. We've talked about some timely sociological subject matter.
We went from LeBron James's ankle injury to
aliens,
ATIP,
to
Project Blue Book, another one. Go watch that series.
to Star Trek.
There's a lot of stuff out there.
One thing I do want to mention on our way out is that Kenny Galladay signed a 4-year contract with 4 years, $72 million with the Giants. Good
really
for you.
Good. Really good.
I know that Jake's happy with that because they got a guy.
Yeah, they got a guy. Giants are going to be viable, I think. They get
Right.
Saquon back now.
Right.
They're healthy on the offensive line.
They're going to be
interesting.
they're
Maybe
gonna be-
Daniel Jones takes the step that Kyle Allen took in a way.
Yeah, he's out of excuses.
Yeah.
He is.
So
that's big news. The biggest wide receiver domino fell in free agency yesterday. So
Yeah. You guys got a good one too, though. Dolphins got Will Fuller.
we bargain shop. Yeah, I know, but we bargain shopped our way through. The Dolphins, their plan is clear. They're not going to shop big on a short budget this year.
Agree.
They're going to save their money. They're going to sign the guys that they already have that they want to keep, and then next year they might spend a little bit of money when this salary cap is bigger.
You know what? And here's the thing: Dolphins will do it their way because they're doing it their way, Flores' way, GM's way, and they may still win 10 games this year and get into the playoffs.
Maybe,
and still be on schedule, which is
Maybe.
a pretty amazing thing. Yeah.
I have season tickets now.
Yeah. So
I'm a season ticket holder again. So we were going to go to some ball games. All right. Well, on behalf of myself and Damaz, say goodbye to the nice people.
see ya.
You can find him at MLB Joy Us on the on the Instagrams, and of course you can search Gonzo Radio, Gonzo Radio Show, Gonzo Radio Network, Gonzo Radio Sports Desk on any of your social media platforms, including coming to LinkedIn soon. And thank you very, very much for tuning in. Hopefully more than 6 people stayed. It's like, oh God, they're not even talking about sports. And we'll see you again next week here on the Gonzo Radio Network. Peace out. Oh, hey, you might want to get the ender on there. Bye.